being that I have no Jamie, I always want to double check and make sure things are actually working.
Off screen. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get this stupid show on the road.
Let's.
Yo, what's up? We in here. We in the studio. You know how it is. You know how it do. Who cares? Anyway, I'm here with a very elusive fellow on the Los Angeles music scene. His name is Robert Abalos, correct?
You almost had it.
Abalos? Robert Abalos.
The kids in the future that break my window with their whatever the future game is, they're gonna go, "Sorry, Mr. Abalos."
Abalos.
Well, exactly.
That's like what I said.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you said.
Exactly what I said.
Sorry, Mr. Abalos. And I'm gonna go,
Right.
"You run, kids."
That's what I said. I said Abalos.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it?
Well, all right.
Is it Abalos or Abalos? Because I feel like in Spanish you always accent the second to last syllable, right? Or
Only
vowel.
when there's like a little apostrophe mark over one of the letters, that's called an acento, and you would
Right.
pretty much. That's the only thing that would indicate whether or not it would do that. But ours has no acento, so it's pretty much Abalos.
Do names have accents, acentos?
I know one guy who's named Jose. Like, for example, like,
He's got the
'cause
accent on the E?
There's Jose,
Yeah.
like, it's like that's with no acento, but then some people have the E at the end.
Yeah.
And like, you know how there's the name Ruben?
Yeah.
I also know a Ruben.
Like
accent on the
like
E.
the sandwich? Reuben? Like the pastrami sandwich.
Is that really like a sandwich that exists?
No, actually, you don't know what a Reuben is?
What's that?
Dude,
No,
it's
I've never heard of that.
Oh my God. It's like, here, let me get this straight. Nice, I got it. Don't even worry about it. It's, what is it? It's like, I think it's pastrami or something like that, plus like sauerkraut.
No wonder I've never heard of it. Sounds like crap.
Oh no, it's like it's the most white bread type of thing you can possibly eat. Just like sourdough bread plus
And his name is
pastrami.
Ruben.
Yeah. But it's Reuben spelled with an E. I don't know if they spell it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know many Rubens with an I.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the way your name is Ben.
Yeah.
Instead of Ruben.
Yeah.
Which almost sounds like with an I. It's Ruben, like Ruben.
Right, exactly.
Because that's Ben.
Yeah, right.
It's who you can't, don't forget who you are.
Yo soy Ben.
Yeah.
Right? I did it right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Okay, so people in okay, so Spanish speaking words, I just don't understand that language.
You know what it is? I think
It's such an easy language, I feel like. It's
if
not
the
that
words,
hard.
If the words are in front of you, I know you.
Yeah.
You could actually pronounce them.
I could. I was
you pretend not to.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you totally can.
Of course, I was pretty good at the actual phonetic part of Spanish when I was like, forced to take that class.
Yeah.
I also had the hottest Spanish teacher ever, and that did not help me.
I was going to say, did that help or did that not
No,
help?
it did not help in any sense. And so now I don't know Spanish, and now I live in LA. Is a cat? Yeah. So.
Oh no, I appreciate that.
Yeah. No. Every podcast so far, she chooses now to
eat. Yeah.
take a bite. Yeah, it's nice because the metal collar bounces off the metal bowl, and
It's smart. It's a smart career move. It's how she imprints herself into your history.
makes a name for herself.
Oh.
Yeah. You can get close, by the way.
Does she have a name?
Yeah, her name's Faye.
Faye.
She's cute. One day, maybe she'll make an appearance. Okay, so
Fabulous.
I know you because how do I?
I think I crashed my car into your apartment.
Oh yeah, I was gonna try to give people a happier story, but I suppose that's. What
I was going to
happened.
try and give them like the actual story, but I decided to be a little shit instead. So,
Did you? Okay. How do you know me? How do I know you?
All right. I mean, we go back
A ways.
Me and listen here. Me and Benjo.
Tell you
we
one
go
fucking
back.
thing, man. I've known you for a while, man.
It's been a while. It's 2016.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
Witch's Brew was the very first gig. We were brought on board by Valley Echo, who's another band that you should listen to.
Oh.
At Witch's Brew in like Northridge.
Uh-huh.
And you were the last band in the set. And so we ended up we ended up playing with you, meeting you, whatever, and then y'all decided later, okay, these guys are all right. Let's play a show with them in like Echo Park or something, and then we just kept playing.
At Rafa's or what?
No, Lot 1. I think Lot 1 was immediately the next one.
Rest in peace, Lot 1.
Rest in peace.
And at this
My
point,
goodness.
probably we can safely say rest in peace, Rafa's. That room has been cut down into a fraction of what it used to be.
What bums me out, man, is like that strip was so good.
Yeah.
Like you had Lot 1, you had the Lost Night. I loved the Lost Night.
Yeah, Last Night was cool.
And Rafa's was cool, and you have the Echo, and like right now, the Echo's getting like bought out. Not bought out, but like, you know, Live Nation.
They did already by Live Nation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now they're owned by somebody. Still the Echo and Echoplex, but now it's owned. And the other places are either changing or shutting down. And so that's actually really disappointing.
Yeah. Well, that whole, you know, I feel like we got here, once we finally had a band in like the Absurd and stuff, we got here on like the tail end of when things were like really cool. And you're a native, so you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But like we got here, came to Rafa's, came to Lot 1, and we're like, man, this shit is like punk rock. It's very DIY. Don't get me wrong, but like it's cool. It's punk, and it's dead. Like, and it's not dead right now, but like I feel like every year since I've played, EPR is getting a little bit more meh.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember is like from the very first. Honestly, maybe this is just something that happens when you're like a newer band and you're like starting to enter these like more like legitimate venues where people are trying out material and like playing all that. But we felt like right away that once we were playing one of your shows.
Yeah.
Because that Northridge one didn't work out so good. But when we did that Lot 1...
Northridge is Witch's Brew?
Witch's Brew, that's right.
Yeah.
But when we did the Lot 1... No, it was even before that. One of the gigs I remember early on was Santa Barbara, Dead Horse Rhythm, Ned in the Dirt, Absurd, and Triangle Fire, I think. Huh. And that like just left... That kind of a show left a huge impression on me that made me think, oh, this is totally still happening.
Was that our EP release at Silver Lake Lounge?
I remember you had a sign with your name on it. It's actually behind you right now, the big red one. Yeah, but you stopped using it like pretty soon after that.
Oh, so that would have been our residency at Silver Lake Lounge.
I think
that
so.
would have been one of our residency shows.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like one of the bands who convinced them to let us do 5 bands because otherwise we wouldn't draw anybody.
but it worked, and that night was like
great.
It was like one of the only decent ones I've had at that place. Yeah. But honestly, after that, I can see how like for us, Triangle Fire's been around for some 5 years, and it wasn't until that year in 2016 where we actually started playing shows, and then immediately noticed the sag. Because if there were bands that were around, like let's say like Dead Horse Rhythm, they broke up. A lot of other ones either exported, like got bigger or whatever, or they just broke up or whatever. Like if there was a scene, it moved on.
Yeah,
and we were left kind of with each other, our bands that were around us.
See, yeah, I don't know that it moved on though, too, because like, so there was exactly like whatever that was. It was before we knew there were. Like, we were still new, and somehow because our strategy was always just like, all right, you know, the scene, as it were, on the east side doesn't really want us. So we're just going to kind of do our own thing.
Right.
And we made friends, I think, with the right people, the right creative people. You know, I think we somehow ended up in a position of being like, okay, this is cool, you know? And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, well, if you're not in the main east side thing, like what the hell's going on here? And that's when the west side thing started, you know?
Right.
Like, which is really weird.
There was like a weird gap.
You can get close too.
Yes.
You can get real close. Real close. Nice and
there
sexy.
There was a dark and stormy gap. No, there was a gap. There was a gap of time, and I remember this because we were mostly Triangle Fire was mostly preoccupied figuring out our shit and what we were gonna do. Yeah. But meanwhile, we were like lukewarm everywhere we went. Like people liked the music, but like there was no scene on the east side,
Right.
which is where we're supposed to be from, that was actually having anything to do with us. We
Yeah.
would just show up on a bill or two
Right.
and be like, oh wow, those guys were cool, and then they wouldn't invite us back.
How weird is that too? Because like there are my perspective, and I think Josh's perspective too, has always just been like, it's not just, oh, those guys are cool. It's like, shit, those guys are cool. Like my entire thing has just been like, I get the scene thing, right? And I can see why certain bands have a certain following. Like I understand stage moves, I understand hooks and songs, I understand style.
Yeah.
I don't believe you though if you don't have something sort of original to offer. So for me, it's always been like, look, if a band's cool, I want to play with them. Like that's all. That's it, you know? And like, yeah, when you're booking shows, you have to take into account draw, because this is Los Angeles and it sucks and no one actually goes out to see live music unless you play at the Echo, where, you know, hipsters and their people go to, you know, it's just but you should, it is amazing to me though, once I got here, that it doesn't seem to matter at all, like how good or artistically interesting you are.
It's one of those things. It's all about who you know, and I think I've learned that a lot this year in trying to, because for the future success of our band, since releasing Triangle Fire's record, Everything Works.
Check it out on Spotify.
Check it out on Spotify. But like since that came out, I mean, I figured it would be better to start, because a lot of the bands that I know are because of Josh Loney from The Absurd,
right?
Your bass player, and just like this general community that we are now like largely pretty comfortable with and playing around, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was going and trying to actually branch out and meet new bands and meet new people. And I was super disappointed because I would find like meh bands, but I still try to connect with them. I was like, you know what? These people at least are putting some time and effort into this thing. I can acknowledge that. I can respect that. And I tried to befriend them. And they were, I mean, they are so many bands and musicians and artists, whatever, are so much about vibe, and I guess I gave them the wrong vibe, and then they kind of like decided just not to respond to my messages.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean, dissect that.
All right, let's say I showed up. I actually follow this one band, and I'm not going to name them, but like, there's kind of a thing going on. I know you've actually probably recognized it, where it's like essentially, it's like girl-led bands that are doing either like indie. I know.
So I'll stop you really quick and just say, I've already said, and I'll say again, I think the difference between the West and the East Side is they're generally the same, except for there's more lesbians on the East Side. Kind of strange. It's kind of strange.
It's weird because,
it's not a bad thing.
I don't
think
it's
just a noticeable thing.
It doesn't even have anything to do with the fact of like, this is a female person, this is a female person, they're both attracted. No, like it's just the facade of like, girls, oh my God, we're like so, you know, like it's the there's two very prominent facades, and I think of them as facades because at the bottom of it there could be music, or there could just be people doing whatever they're doing.
Right.
There's that one, like the super kind of hyper feminine thing, and right now the Latinx.
There is a lot of that. Yeah.
Both of those, like those are the ones that at least I'm encountering the most.
Yes.
At least as far as what's going to be, they're trying to launch for the next few years. And
so, what do you think? You guys are not getting the love because, I mean, you guys are all Latin in Triangle Fire, right? Or no?
So
Hispanic, whatever. Is there a difference? I don't want to go too far.
I mean,
down
okay,
that rabbit hole.
so I'll just like
none
touch
of you
on that
guys are
real
chicks,
quickly.
but none of you guys are hyper masculine dudes like The Absurd.
No. So
where it's obvious why we're getting castigated, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and we just play into it.
You're tall white dude, yeah.
Exactly.
In Little Mexico. You know?
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, and that's pretty much what LA is. Yeah.
Well, our thing is, we've actually been very recently. We've started to get more attention by those Latino communities. Now the thing is, that's new because that whole movement is just now like everyone that's involved from the film side to the music side is deciding to get up and be like, all right, you know what? Latino culture in the 20s, the roaring 20s, the new 20s, the 2020s. and like they're getting together kind of with that mindset, and not necessarily together, but like they're starting to kind of look for those standout acts, and you know, they want to make it a viable thing, and I'm not necessarily against that. I just think it's not been until now this year where that's been acknowledged from our end, because like we've always been us. We've always been little short Mexican guys showing up to the shows with all the heavy white blues rock people.
Right.
And I just think it's kind of, I can't explain how it happens.
Well, and also I'm on the face of it down with flipping anything on its head. Like, hey, what if we did rock and roll with, you know, women instead of men, and Latinas and Latinos instead of white bread people or whatever. Like, I'm way down with that. Although white people kind of took it from black people and blah blah blah. You know, there's an evolution. You know, I'm down with challenging everything. I really am. It's just once you get to the point where you're kind of ostracized for not being
one thing or another.
The superficial characteristics. It's like, look, your content, I'm amazed that you've noticed that, because I see you guys, Triangle Fire in particular, and then we'll get to Roberto del Raspado, but Triangle Fire, like, who the hell do you offend? And how? I mean, how is it possible that you've come up against those things?
It's never been a matter of like our band offending anybody. It's mostly this guy.
Hey.
And it's just generally because I think
what's your burner Instagram name?
My fake one? I'm not sharing that.
Oh, if I remember it, I'm going to share it, but I won't remember it.
You won't remember it. Good luck. Because, yeah, I need that for my trolling. Because, like,
you do excellent trolling from that account.
Because really, okay, because I have so
Every
many.
time I see something from that account, I'm like,
He's like a dark loomer in
Folks,
the night.
We could be making it all up. He might not even have a burner account.
For all I know, he doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I mean, you guys, I really don't understand. I don't understand that, because at least so I understand the feminist thing, right? I understand why you wouldn't fit into that, because none of you guys are chicks.
I'm not a lady.
But
it didn't work out that way. I tried.
I know. I remember you tried. Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah,
it was a very brief period, very dark.
Everyone was there for you, but also kind of discouraging. The whole. It's just strange. But then the Latino or Latina. What do I call it? What's the gender neutral term for that?
All right.
Like, how do I refer to everybody?
My own take on this for us is like, all right, we're all dudes.
Yes.
None of us are like not dudes.
Yeah.
So you can use Latino.
Okay.
And the only reason I would say that, because I'm Mexican.
Right.
Like, I'm not mixed with anything else really, as far as like if enough generations where I can say, it's Mexican. It's like, even though Mexican is a hybrid of this, it's like, doesn't matter. I'm Mexican. Like, my family goes back a long time to Mexico.
Whenever you ask people who were born in America, like white people in particular, like, so what are you? They're like, well, I'm a little Polish, German. I think I have some Swedish, British. It's like, okay, so you're
a sausage.
You're an American. And you're
a hot dog.
Whatever the hell you are. Oh, I don't want to get too far into that, but okay.
No,
so
but I know how to,
being okay. So being somebody not from here has been an eye-opening experience, because the culture, especially as a musician, exists the way it does. Being somebody from here, though, how do you see the way things have developed? And would you consider yourself a native of LA, or not quite, or what?
All right. My professional opinion of the identification, identity, race type ideas that go around in LA, they're stupid. They're stupid. They're fucking stupid.
Look at that.
They're straight stupid. Okay, here's what it is. So I am very Mexican.
Yes.
On both sides.
Right.
And I grew up in a place called Hacienda Heights. And Hacienda Heights is in the San Gabriel Valley. It's like a suburb place. It's like, it's like a lower middle income type of place.
Yeah.
But there's also like some higher middle, but nobody's like super rich there. Right. It's just a suburban whatever. Yeah. And I think I grew up pretty American there for a lot of years of my life before we moved to East LA. Now, East LA is
That's where all the Chinese are, right?
that all so close. That's Monterey Park. Monterey Park.
I was going to say
has-
that's actually true.
yeah, we're really close, really close.
Weirdly
like,
enough, yeah.
they're like a few neighborhoods away, but like East LA, one of my friends was thinking about tagging one of the freeway overpasses with Little Mexico. Why? Mexicans everywhere, because that's my LA ancestral homeland.
Yeah.
So there's lots of Hispanics. I mean, there's like a mix, predominantly Mexican, and I say that because amongst Mexicans, they're very particular with like at least knowing who's Salvadorian, who's Dominican, Ecuadorians, and making those
That's
distinctions.
interesting. Yeah. Do they separate, like, where they live? Do they separate based on that or no?
Not really. I mean, I know some places in like
Mexicans not allowed in pupusa houses?
No,
Pupusa shacks?
it's one of those
What do they
things.
call
It's
those
like
places?
pupusa shacks. That's Salvadorian.
Yeah, Salvadorian. That's what I'm saying. Mexicans not allowed or no?
No.
It's all
I mean,
kind of
it's all
blended.
everyone's welcome anywhere. It's not one of those things where like Mexicans, Salvadorians. You know, like
Right.
that's not really a thing.
Okay.
It's just that for a while, I mean, like the Mexican families were there for a very, very long time.
Okay.
And over the past 30, 40 years, there were other families moving from further south because of other political things that
Yeah.
drove them here.
Yeah.
But the Mexicans being the closest were the first. And so them, like at least the first to like kind of go through the whole immigrating, moving here, planting the roots. So
Right.
a lot of those families are already established. They're like second or third generation,
Right.
a lot of them. And whereas a lot of the other families I know, like Nicaraguans and other ones that are like only just now starting to establish roots, and they're at the beginning of that entire process where their either children or grandchildren will eventually be like born American citizens. Like that
Okay.
type of thing.
Okay, so, all right. So, Triangle Fire, again, I want to get back to...
My bad, I totally...
No. That was... I'm actually genuinely interested in all that shit. But how does that tie into, like... Because before we were talking about how the whole either feminist thing in East LA or Latino, I'm just going to go with it,
Yes,
thing in
yes,
LA,
yes.
especially on the East Side in particular, how that plays into how Triangle Fire is received and why you might have had a tough time kind of fitting into the scene. And also, have you guys experienced any negative blowback from being associated with us?
I'll go in reverse here, but I'm only probably going to remember that last thing
Yeah.
because the only blowback I've ever seen is because you guys, from you, Ben, and to Josh, like you guys are my friends.
Right.
And you're my friends through the experience that we've had and everything.
Yes.
And so when something blows back on you, I just notice that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is that like I guess I consider myself fortunate because that's all I've experienced, but I also still I find myself just really disappointed
Yeah.
in the other people
Right.
that
Have
'cause
you ever had
it's-
people be like, so, you're friends with those guys, right?
Yes, that's happened because
Yeah.
some people are like feeling ambiguous about like,
Yeah.
oh, the absurd, like they're so American
Right.
flags. Like, yo, they're just a band of dudes that came here with essentially nothing and decided to make something.
Right.
And now they're here.
Yeah.
And that's really
That's the idea.
yeah.
Yeah. But also we're,
White dudes.
yeah.
Is that what
Well, yeah, basically. I mean, I'm
Oh, you're also tall.
that's the other thing, dude. It's because I've felt like a bunch of people are like, dude, you're white dudes. And I'm like, no. The thing is, we're tall. And I think that might be it. Everybody's concerned about racism and feminism, but they never think about heightism.
Everyone asks, how conservative is the absurd? Nobody asks how tall,
tall are
is
they?
the absurd. They're tall dudes. They're like pretty tall.
That's
for
what
around
I
here.
mean. It's like you guys are missing the right variable. All right, okay. So when did Triangle Fire start?
Triangle Fire started.
And how? Und how? Tell me, mon frère.
If you go all the way back to like 2011, I joined a program run by a guy named Ruben Guevara.
It was called
It was called
Alcoholics Anonymous. It was a strange program, but it seemed to help.
Yes, exactly. I was in high school in my sophomore year, and I had a major alcohol.
Jesus, you started early.
No, that's what it was. I was in high school, and I was in that program, and that program eventually resulted in a band, and that band resulted
What kind of program was it? It was through your high school?
music
or?
program. No, it was exterior.
Okay.
I found it because
Community college kind of thing? Or
I was dating a girl, and she was in that program, and I hung out, and being a musician already, I was there like, what? Music stuff? What I always wanted to do?
Yeah.
Tell me more. And so I started showing up, and then at some point she stopped going, but I was like, why am I going to stop? You know?
Did you ever want to do anything else other than music?
I think, okay, so since middle school, that being like the main place where I'm like, I'm definitely going to be doing at least the singing and the playing guitar thing. Since then, not really.
Really?
Not really.
Okay.
No, that's been huge.
Okay, so sophomore year, Triangle Fire comes around right during sophomore year, or what?
So some student band forms, and at some point, we get a drummer, and that drummer is Ian. Ian is a crazy jazz drummer plus prog drummer, and he ends up becoming my friend. And at some point, when that band ends, he decides that he wants to start another project that's more rooted in like indie rock stuff. So he starts another band. A bunch of people are flaking out on him, and at some point, he decided to invite me on board to that project. And so when I went, I mean, we were friends already, so we agreed on a lot of what we wanted to do. So we just ran with it. We called ourselves the Club Masters at first for like a few days, and then
Club Masters?
because we both had Ray-Ban Club Master sunglasses, like real ones. Yes.
Well, I mean, you were in high school, so you know what? That's better though than when I talked to Ian LeBlanc. Their original band name was Kaylee and the Jays.
I mean, I don't think it's that bad because I feel like it's Kaylee's band.
Kaylee and the Jays, though.
So like
Kaylee
the Jays,
and
like smoking a J.
No, like Jay, like the Jerry, the guitarist in that band. That's what it was based off of.
Oh,
Yeah, lame.
sorry, Jerry.
Sorry, Jerry's great, but Kaylee and the Jays, like Kaylee and the anything else would have worked better. But Club Masters,
It's pretty bad.
That's there. Then
It's
again,
all right.
when we started, we were called Ben Forg and the Absurd, which is
A subtle difference.
fairly terrible. I mean, the Absurd's not great, but Ben Forg and the Absurd's certainly worse.
I mean, they're all snappy names. The only thing that weakens any of them is subject matter. Because like
But you don't want to have a snappy name if you're not playing in a snappy
place.
genre.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Club Masters.
Okay.
That sounds like the most danciest, like hippest, whatever thing. Like if it's really gonna be living by its name.
Right.
And we were not. We were like nerdy fucking kids, you know.
But you both are. So
Totally.
you guys got from, was it just you and Ian for a long time or what?
So 2014 is officially the year. I took the long way to answer the question. 2014 was when Triangle Fire decided to actually form. That was between me and Ian, just the two of us at first. And at some point we added Ivan Galdames in September. A few months later, he joined as our drummer, and me and Ian.
I don't know if I can get that low. Anyway,
Yeah.
you
So
added
then,
Sal as your drummer?
fake news. No, 2014. No, in September we added Ivan as a drummer. Ivan was the drummer.
Poor guy. Rest in peace, man. I fucking really like that guy.
Oh, dude, I fucking love Ivan. Dude, he's one of my best friends, man. Like,
He was also so badass in that band.
he was. You know what? This is a longer conversation, but I do hold myself like largely accountable for that, and I'm still pissed at myself. That more than anything led to my drinking problem. That's like,
Nice airplane reference, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I have a relationship to that problem as it developed in real time. But either way, I mean, unless you really want to talk about that. So Ivan was found before Sal?
yeah, okay. So Ivan and Ian went to Eagle Rock High School together.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't know Sal because Sal was like somewhere in Pasadena.
When did Sal come on board?
That would have been late 2015, and then
How?
Ian had just graduated from Eagle Rock, and he was starting to go to PCC.
Okay.
And Ian was like, I mean, they tell the story way better, but like I know Ian was like carrying around his microcord because he felt so cool with it, and like it was still new for him. He's like, haha. And Sal, I think Sal had the same microcord, like the same model, and he's like, bro, microcord, sick. And Ian was like, yes, tight, dope. And then they became friends like that, which is really cool because like, yeah, they became friends at PCC.
Yeah, because Sal is he's a nerd too. Right?
Totally.
You guys are all nerds.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Hands down. Easy.
But when you play as Triangle Fire, you do not come across as nerds.
I hope not. Like,
Are you okay? So I met you guys when you were a 4-piece. You used to do the Chinese fire drill all the time. All of you could play all the instruments.
yes.
That was the thing.
Yes.
Either way, though, those songs were, all there. Once again, Everything Works is a wonderful album. You guys got a lot of attention for that album from, what is it, KXLU?
No, we got
KEXP?
KCRW.
KCRW.
Yeah. You confused me with all of your...
Well, they all start with K. I don't know which, that's why I was asking
No,
you. I'm like, hopefully you know
KCRW.
the name. Yeah.
Yeah, a friend. Okay, so lots of different friends to talk about.
How did you hook that one up? I mean, that's a good, or did it just fall into your lap? I mean, that's...
It sorted it. I mean,
That landed you at the Hi-Hat in Highland Park. That got you a shit ton of plays on Spotify, for which I'm sure your royalty checks are massive.
I don't want to tell the government. No, it's not that much. Like, but we did make more. Like that actually, that was huge.
Are you guys registered with like ASCAP or BMI or anything?
No.
I mean,
I declined to comment on
yeah,
that.
sorry, I didn't.
No, it's
I actually blacked out for the last 20 seconds, so I'm not sure what questions I asked.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Something about KCRW. Okay, so I'm friends with Sean Lee, and Sean Lee's friends with my friend Anton, who we met all together, whatever. And Anton is also friends with a guy named Dante. Dante's super cool. Another homie of mine.
Does he have an Inferno?
That's immediately what I think, because I know there's several Dantes, like Count of Monte Cristo Dante, Dante's
Right,
Inferno. But
yeah.
that was like, that's always the first one.
First one.
Dante's Inferno.
Definitely.
Oh, Dante's badass. But he was friends with Jose Galvan, the KCRW DJ. And then he connected us. And
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
That's super awesome.
And then on top of that, like Jose Galvan happens to be like a really, like, he's a good DJ with like a very strong musical sense.
Yeah.
And like the best radio voice.
Yeah.
So good.
So, okay, so Triangle Fire goes on. Ivan leaves. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I mean, it's a long story. I feel like there was a lot that happened which actually involves the absurd. Not in the sense of like him leaving so much. Well, maybe not.
I beat him up.
You beat him
and
up?
I was
don't
like,
really
dude,
remember
if
that.
you stay in the band, I'll beat you up more.
Shit.
No, I didn't really do that. But I
That
do
would've
know.
surprised me.
Okay, so I do know. Here's the circumstances that I remember. I've never beat up anybody. For being like as sort of big and, kind of assertive as I am, never been in a fight.
Nice.
I'd get my ass kicked. Luckily, I developed.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, right. Never mind. What I meant to say is I would kick the shit out of anyone because I've kicked the shit out of so many people.
Yes.
Don't challenge me to a fight. But what I remember is you guys were mixing Everything Works, and you guys went through some stuff mixing that album and recording that album. You worked with Mitchell Hauser, who is a great man, who should be on this podcast at some point. But
Totally, yeah.
he you tracked some stuff, you weren't necessarily happy with it, so you retracked some stuff, and then some stuff ended up happening. I definitely had something to do with it, because not to do with Ivan separating or anything. I mean, maybe if that's
But
how
the
you
mix,
feel.
you
But
think?
nope, I don't think your mixes. I mean, in the smallest possible way, perhaps, but no, I wouldn't. No,
What's band got to
do with it, got to do with it. I would say nothing. That's not what I was going for.
No, yes,
What
okay,
I was going for was I was there for that process. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
and so I kind of saw it, and it was it was interesting, and it kind of, it was like, oh man, like, again, I brought it up a couple times. You don't have to talk about it.
No. Okay, so the main story.
But now, if you don't, you're gonna look like a wuss, and you ain't no wuss.
So the main story that is that. What
You
the
need
fuck?
the dick?
I guess I need the dick.
Yeah, here you go.
The main story is really it's kind of revolving around Everything Works, the record, and Triangle Fire, the band, because Triangle Fire is the band in question, and Everything Works was essentially Everything Works frames the period of what we were up to as a band, which was we tried to record that album like three entire lengths of time.
That was an exercise in trial and error.
Yes, in a very expensive, in all the ways, expensive in all the ways that it could cost you.
How long would you say, from start to finish of recording that album, that took you?
All right, the final result is something else, but in late 2016, we knew that we needed to start trying to record, and we were going to try and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Very quickly, a few songs in, we realized we had no idea what we were doing. So in 2017, after certain personal hiccups from all of us, we decided to hire Mitchell Hauser, by your recommendation, actually.
Yes.
And he was so good. His production was excellent.
Yeah.
Everything that he had to offer was it's something that any band could totally benefit off of. He's really good. The problem was that we still, by that point, did not understand the final product.
Yeah, what you
that
wanted
we were
out
trying
of
to
your
make.
songs.
Yeah, that's the only reason that didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
The problem was that entire session was a huge strain because we all pooled money. We didn't crowdfund. We didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
We all just split it between us.
Yeah.
And went in thinking that this time we would have it.
Yeah.
And what we didn't think of was turning on the metronome. And that really came down to some of them because they would sag in the middle of the song.
Well, you guys also didn't. Did you try to track everything live? Because if you do that without a metronome, it's not really a problem. But I don't think you did.
We did, and we attempted overdubs after. No, technically it should have been fine, but we were just not as consistent of a band at that time.
Yeah.
It was really in 17. We started playing all of our major shows in 16 and on.
Right.
And after, that was only really a year of having Sal actively on board.
Yeah.
And so we were still figuring out how to play the songs even for live or for any of that. So we weren't on point with that yet.
Right.
So that caused the recordings to suffer because of our own time lapses. And I know some people are very much about if you can't do it all at the same time. I don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit at all, man. It's all look, I've heard amazing albums recorded all at the same time. I've heard amazing albums recorded tracked completely separately, it doesn't really matter. It's all what you're comfortable with. I think a lot of it comes down to pre-production, and I think that's where you guys probably misstepped, is what I've learned from our first album to the album that we're producing now is on the first one, it was pre-production, that's a cool idea. And we did some of it, and it was whoa, man, this is going to sound dope, bro. But on this one, we did we just knew what we wanted, That makes all the difference.
Yeah, it really does.
So Ivan leaves because of whatever.
Well, I'll just wrap this up real quick because I realize I might be taking a little long.
You're not taking long.
Essentially, we went through a long process with Mitchell Hauser because we were only supposed to do an EP.
Right.
But at some point, I had decided, the really smart guy, I totally know how to run a band. I definitely. So I decided that we should extend it. We had a set of 10 songs or so.
Yeah.
And I decided, what if we just went for the whole thing?
Yeah.
And what if we went for the whole thing with Mitchell Hauser? And they were all impressionable enough and excited enough about how it was going to get excited. And it wasn't until
I mean, it's 10 good songs.
Yeah.
I can see the impetus for your move.
Yeah.
You know?
The problem was it was in August of 2017, and we were listening to the tracks all together, and I started noticing these kind of gaping holes in the feel of the songs and how certain things were not connecting, and I started to point that out. And even though they were not very happy with it, they kind of, especially Sal, he kind of reluctantly agreed that there were things that he wanted to redo.
Right.
And it started with us wanting to redo one or two of the tracks. But it ended up being we redid most of the record. We redid the whole thing. And when that decision happened to redo the whole thing, like you could really see it in Ivan's face, in how just like, imagine you get dragged through this long process and you put everything you have into it, all your time, your money, and everyone, like your families, everyone's betting that on you. And then some guy that, some guy that decides he's in charge of the band says, you have to do all of that again.
Well, are you not the primary songwriter?
Well, yes. I mean, okay, so my thing is like, I don't necessarily want to try and like qualify or disqualify my ability to like handle the songs and know what the songs are about, but it's just over, like with or without that, it's a hugely frustrating thing. We spent almost a year on that first leg, to spend another year.
That would be enough for me to quit, probably. I don't know if I'd blame you or something else, though. I mean, even just being there, it's like, look, it's just sometimes the way she goes. But okay, so out of that, how is Roberto del Raspado? That's your official artist name, solo?
Yeah.
How was that born? Because I feel like you were always doing solo stuff anyway. But eventually you decided to kind of record it.
I've written songs forever, and I used to go to.
When did you start writing?
If I taste out the date.
Well, it was a sunny day back in. It must have been 2009.
2000, late 2006 or early 2007. No, really, middle school. I was into America and Billy Joel and Electric Light Orchestra and Supertramp.
Yeah, how did you end up being into that stuff? That's a
K
hilarious
Earth 101.
That is, what is that?
K Earth 101.
Yeah.
And Denny's. And my dad.
Denny's would make sense, yeah. Was your dad a musician?
Yeah. My dad plays mainly keyboard, but also guitar, and he sings.
Is he a church singer or?
How did you know?
Well,
yeah, my dad does the church stuff. He used to have a band a long time ago with some of his friends, and that also was like pretty embedded in my mind.
Yeah. Is that because you do church stuff sometimes? You do.
Yeah, I was definitely.
You do all kinds of stuff.
I was raised Catholic, but not like the Catholic, where they just drag you and you show up. Like my family was in the choir, and we would get dragged and show up and feel like there's nothing else to do. Why don't we just play in the choir? And that just...
I mean, that's a great reason to motivate yourself to go to church. Because as a Catholic, man, you show up to the wrong service, it's like, oh, man, Sunday sucks. Except for the lunch we have after. Then that's great. Lunch is always good.
And we always get menudo downstairs.
Yeah, whatever you get, there's always some delicious food you're going to get after you suffer through the goddamn service. Excuse me. The gosh darn service.
Heckin'.
So you got your influences from a multitude of sources.
Lots of music kind of throughout most of my life.
Yeah. So Roberto del Raspado starts to form. Is it in response to Triangle Fire and your frustrations with that? Or I know you've always been writing, but why did you decide to actually make it a thing?
I can't really remember a lot of 2017 and those decisions because of drugs. I just remember post-drugs, I was feeling I had like a weird, like a sense of like a spiritual awakening, and it could have all been bullshit because everything, the way it all looked like these weird cartoons that I really can't describe.
Yeah,
but it's crazy. I started trying to I was drawing a lot. Like I think I don't know if that was the year I dropped out of UCLA. No, it was the year before, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had some songs. I was experimenting with recording, and I knew that I was not going to be able to do that great of a job. But I figured I posted some stuff on SoundCloud. Why don't I get some stuff on Spotify? I'd already been recording, and I had some songs and an idea. And
did you not post your first like solo stuff as Robert Abalos, or like when did you decide, okay, I'm going to make this thing a persona, this is going to be the name that I release my solo stuff under?
I think it was sometime at UCLA.
Okay.
I was just thinking, because there were a lot of like indie artists and
When did the that first solo album you released is The Roaring Quiet?
The Roaring Quiet, yeah.
When did that come out?
2017.
Okay. And
October
then
2017.
the one you just released, The Making Moon.
The Making Moon, that's the one. That's the new one.
2019.
2019.
Yeah. September,
No, August 25th. My mom's
August
birthday.
25th.
Yes.
Mom's birthday.
My mom's birthday.
Very cute.
I was like, "Hi, Mom. Have some music." She's like, "Oh, nice." She should have been like, "You only think about yourself."
Yeah,
Like,
right. No, I mean, I do. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have, personally a lot of respect for you because I think that you, flaws and all, will just move through it and get stuff done. It's like, look, I understand personally I have all these flaws, and yes, there's all these problems with the way that things are working, but chiefly what I want to do is make music and release it. And that's just what you do,
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been the way I've looked at things. And it's weird that more people kind of don't do that. I don't know why. I don't know where you get your drive. I don't know why other people don't have that kind of drive. It's like, look, is it something completely compulsive? Is it sort of a realization of if you don't do it, you'll be unhappy? I mean, what exactly drives you to keep producing?
Yeah. There was a conversation we had earlier, like only a few days ago, where you said something about being a fatalist. Because
Yeah.
I think in post 2016 and into 17, after all like crazy psychedelia with some of my friends, like I got very self-conscious about like my time and my time period.
Right.
And on top of that, I knew I wanted to be putting forward songs. It's just that I felt like I had to go through an amount of something before I could really have any sort of say in what Triangle Fire was going to do. Because we had the band, we had songs, we were playing them,
Right.
but I really didn't know or understand what that whole process was going to look like. So I kind of figured I'd try it myself. I put out a little EP, and when you're a band, everyone talks about, okay, single EP. And so I was like, all right, I don't have singles, just an EP. Just there you go. There's my little EP. And I never want to do EP again because I have way more songs, but neither here nor there. But I think I started getting a weird sense. This was after David Bowie died.
Yeah.
And like Tom Petty would die later that year.
Right.
And I started getting this sense of like, all right, I'm on a time limit. I have a lot of songs. I have a lot of ideas. And if I die in a week, what's going to be left?
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because that is exactly what I was saying. That's. So I said it to you a few days ago in the context of like the podcast. Like, why are you doing the podcast? It's like, well, for this reason, that reason, and also for the reason that I always feel like I'm going to die within a week, and so, I would like to leave. It's just something that you can leave in perpetuity, and it's not just me. It's other people too. And like you can, there's just so many people who are so fucking good in Los Angeles. You're one of them, and like, man, I hope some people get somewhere. But either way, like I want something to be there.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy that it sort of can be. So you write songs like a crazy person. You put out an album, which I thought was really good. I think this new one, The Making Moon, is even better. I think the songwriting, the mixing, you do everything, by the way, top to bottom, right?
Yeah, all the songwriting, all the instruments, all the mixing.
Yeah.
I was going to try and get help, but as soon as I thought about that, I got lazy and I decided to do it myself.
Well, it's also just like, look, I need to get this out. You know,
exactly.
Anybody I call in on this project is going to just slow it down for some reason because they have their own shit that they're doing. So you got it out, and you actually, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of it. You brought together a bunch of musicians, and you did this release show. And this is something that I've always wanted to do. Is, you know, for any kind of release show, for anything that I do solo, just call together a bunch of people who were like, you know, just interested in doing it. I was very surprised though with all the people, and you probably brought together how many people played on
I think 10 outside of myself.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it was a whole, you know, it'll be on the internet and all that. Somewhere, I'm sure.
Somewhere
at some point.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, you got the audio recorded, and
we got the audio, we got the video from like JP.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other videos that exist somewhere that I'll give you one too later. Or two.
There's proof that this thing happened.
Yeah, it did happen. We're not making it up.
There's too many witnesses too. So like if you kill me off, there's other people that saw that it happened. You know?
Can't deny it. But yeah, that's that. I mean, that is such a refreshing, inspiring thing to see. Truly, like it is just to see you bring together all those people, and that turnout was really good. Like all that was good. It was a Sunday before Labor Day. Like that's a tough day.
I think in 2017 I wanted to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then this year when that rolled around, I decided to actually just put it into motion and start asking people.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we were definitely more established by this point. More people had already heard of like Triangle Fire, and they knew who I was.
Yeah.
And so when I was asking people, they were just like, "Heck yeah, I want to do that."
Yes. Yeah.
And like from yourself and Josh, who played on like the heavier songs, and then a lot of my jazz friends that I had met at UCLA, everybody was like very enthusiastic about playing on the project.
Yeah, I was surprised.
And a lot of people showed up at that event and were enthusiastic about listening to it.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging all of that together was like a weird kickback for me. And like I'm honestly not even sure. Like I overshot my own expectations.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what to make of it.
Well,
Awesome,
I think I would consider myself at least a contender for the least responsive in that text thread.
That's whatever. Yeah.
Right. That you sent out to all the musicians that you had, gotten to play. But I noticed how on top of it you were like, okay, look, does this work? You know, we need to organize a few practices at very least. Get everybody kind of in the place that they need to go. And, you know, like, look, thank you, but let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that was, I really, like, I have not seen anyone else do that. That I think is really, really fucking special. I think you might need to keep that brand going. Like, I think that I was amazed at how many people were stoked to just like help you out. They were excited about what you were doing. Like, takes a certain kind of talent. I don't know. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Is like with Triangle Fire and the radio thing was a similar experience. Just like, wow, like people actually really like this and are like giving that positive feedback, that pushback, and that's great. And this is a much different kind of response, but it's all coming. Everybody that I invited on has a band. You have a band. Jasmine, who sang, my band, right? And Natalie from Stains of a Sunflower, Elias from Adobe House, and a bunch of the jazz dudes from wherever. Like, everybody had projects.
Yes.
And they were all, like, super down to like, commit and learn the songs. And, I did my best to, like, do the scheduling and stuff, but it couldn't have gone anywhere if they weren't that enthusiastic, and they totally were. And
how's the album doing for you? How's the Making Moon?
If we're talking about statistics, it's still, it's on the lighter side. It does take a while to
well, also solo stuff like on the internet, like you're putting you're putting the main thrust of your energy into like, other things and stuff. But
the biggest thrust was that show, and now that that's over, it's like, Triangle Fire's still going, so like I have to kind of change gears and start to.
Do you find it like super difficult to balance those two things now? or no?
No, it seems like I understand my bandmates' schedules in Triangle Fire now a little better, and at least how to respect that.
Yeah.
Because there's times where they're just busy, and when they're busy is when I end up like twiddling my thumbs because I'm not as busy as them.
Not sure what the hell to do. This is one of the first times since the absurd has been a thing that we've taken, I think, about a month off of practicing.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you guys were like playing shows all the time.
All the time,
like,
dude. And we did it because, Colin, the drummer, had to go on tour with someone else to pay some bills and, had a couple other things scheduled. And we also are still working on mixing the new record. So it actually works out. It's fine. So I'm not angry about it. But at the same time, I'm like, exactly like you, just kind of like, what? Holy shit. You find out when you are sort of removed from the ability to play and practice with your primary band or whatever all the time, how much you've put into it and how much you've sacrificed for it. It's like, it's frustrating and sort of frightening. Just like, man, a lot of my eggs are in that basket.
Yeah. I mean, sheesh. I had a conversation with my dad once, and like, I was just I was like super, I don't know, I was in a weird, shitty state of mind. But like, I was talking to him pretty much about how much it cost us to make everything works. Like, and not so much in the financial aspect. I'm talking about like the sense of like how one of our friends is just not really around anymore. Like he's just living elsewhere, doesn't really talk to us, hang out with us or anything. Whereas like he was in our band, he was like one of the key members of it, that one of the key presences that people in our collective scene knew us for. And that when you look at real success of any good band, you could study it, you could see there's always a time where they're paying their dues, and sometimes there's always a price. It's expensive.
Yes.
And when you're in that place, there's a gap, there's time, you step back and you can see what you put in. You know what that looks like. And honestly, it's always surprising. It's always very humbling. It's always very much like, oh shit, like I invested all that, but it could all be gone, or this or that. Number of ways to interpret it.
Like I've said before. I mean, it's sort of like being married to a couple of other people. Which is extremely frustrating. It's like I know people who have broken up with bands of. Like, not even had one member leave. It's like, nope, the band's done after like 5 or 10 years. 5 years would be bad enough. 10 years sounds devastating. Yeah. Like, there's just, really, did you go through all the options? Like, I'll ask these people, like, why didn't you just find a new, like, bassist or drummer? They're just like, nah, look, the logistics didn't work. Like, once that person quit, this other person wasn't interested. It's like, it is such a complicated, like, thing, which is always something that encourages me to sort of think of things from the solo perspective. It's like, well, if I just make my own songs, get them recorded however the hell, you can do it cheap and you can have all the instruments in there. Doesn't matter. Then I can always play unplugged things whenever I want to. I have total creative control. And whenever I need a band, maybe some people will help me out, or maybe, I'll figure something out, like.
Well, that makes me think of, I mean, because we're both friends with Greg. Mm-hmm. If you know Greg from Greg and Good Company. So this is where
he had me on the first episode of his podcast and then didn't keep the podcast going. I should have had him on the first episode of this one, but
he'll come in at some point.
I mean, I do love that guy, but I hate him enough that I just wanted to sort of stick it to him, and that my podcast has made it more than 4 episodes.
Take that.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so you look at him, for the man he is, you see, he's the songwriter. He's the Greg in Good Company, right?
He's the whole thing, I think, in that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not dissimilar from this Roberto del Raspado thing.
Right.
Because essentially, I've already been thinking about this, which is I could do a solo set. I could do like a YouTube set, record it, get good audio, post it up, have content. But I could also do what we did on that day of the release show and bring a bunch of people in and make a huge ordeal out of it. And I love that flexibility as a songwriter.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I also think too, like though, you need to as a band. I don't know, man. I mean, what do you think the balance is between like releasing? Because when I first got here, before I even started really being in a band formally, I had a friend who had a little bit of, clout and was sort of already somewhere-ish, be like, look, fuck shows. Don't even worry about it. What you really need, that's my initial reaction to it.
Just like, what?
Yeah.
All right.
And just be like, what you really need is a really good release. Because there's an importance to the internet and social media. And I think within the time that I've been here, which is 4 years, something like that, it has changed a little bit. But, okay, to me, your recordings can be whatever. And maybe I'll really enjoy them. But if I see you live and you suck, I'm going to think less of you. Really, you need to have both. You just need to be able to. Then again, I'm a musician and an appreciator of music, so I don't know if I'm like horribly biased in that sense, or what do you feel like? Especially considering that the music industry is DEAD dead. Like,
I don't think it's dead. I think it's like it's at that point where it's like
just dying.
Woo, like so this is what death looks like. This is it's really bad, like in the sense of infrastructure and companies that are actually able to make success on behalf of the bands.
Okay.
But there is still revenue going to the companies that own the hit makers. And so
although those companies have lost revenue every single year since the internet.
True. I mean, but there's still been a constant reshuffling of like the top artists. That what's interesting is they're using a lot of people like artists like Jay-Z, Beyonce, whatever, from like 2000, the 2000s and like 2008 and all that stuff. Like those people are now our front runners again right now because.
Yeah.
And I understand that comes with an amount of desperation, but on the behalf of the companies.
Yes.
But at the same time, these are tried and true artists that like even like no matter what they do, people are gonna be like, oh my god, Beyonce. Do you want to talk about Beyonce in every single TV show?
Let's
talk about Beyonce.
Beyonce. She's the queen.
Queen Bee.
Yes. It's so awesome.
What does it have to do with Beyonce's music? Nothing.
I've never even heard Beyonce's music. I just think she's really good.
You must not know about me. You must not know about
something and a something. All
right, so there are some real good songs to actually justify the whole Beyonce thing, but still.
Give me a fucking break. You perform the Super Bowl and you have feminism on fire as a sip. Did you see that? She performed the Super Bowl and she had the word feminism on fire behind her.
Was this the last time? No, that was like Maroon 5.
That was Maroon 5, which was equally lame. Actually, probably lamer than Beyonce. Beyonce, like, I get it. She is a great entertainer. She's been in it her whole life. Okay, that's fine. But once you start, masquerading around with these fucking feminism, it's like, okay, you're an exceptionally attractive lady, Beyonce. And you're half naked on stage. More than half naked, actually. Don't light a sign on fire behind you that says feminism and convince every woman in the world who likes you that they should do the same thing. Because they don't have the same talent and they sure as hell don't have the same looks. And now we're just, it's a weird message. Also, why are you sending messages? It's the Super Bowl. Do you think that anyone who watches the Super Bowl gives a fuck about feminism? Like, and then you have Maroon 5, which is the girliest rock band. Like, Give me a break. The dude takes his shirt off. I just can't say it enough. Ugh. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Then again, before that, they had Tom Petty and the Rolling Stones, who are vestiges of an older time. It's like
those old farts.
It's like we just don't have anything. That's what I'm saying with the music industry is we don't have a machine in place that allows new artists to sort of capture the zeitgeist in a mainstream way, that allows them to sort of be trendsetters.
Right, but what you were saying was it was dead. Now, if it were dead,
there would be. I play around in hyperbole land.
Well, I also play the hyperboles, and I will poke that one because it's not dead. It's just what's there has money and is big enough to eclipse a lot of the content that exists outside, which is constantly trying to poke through the holes of people's attention span.
I agree.
And so there's for those people who have always existed, that have always built success upon organic music, and I don't mean necessarily just, organic instruments, but like music that's made to suit a certain time period, or that like really speaks to people or what have you, like to just struggling but pursuing the professional artist, right? So there's not really that sort of supportive infrastructure. There are still labels. There's so many tiny little labels that still get an amount of funding, and there are benefits to that.
Well, it seems like the tiny labels have kind of gotten more prevalent. I mean, they've gotten bigger, but they've also, it seems more as an artist. Like I asked, I can't remember, either Javier or John Grout, if you had the option, would you sign to a smaller label or a really big label? And to me, it's like a smaller label that has a lot of traction, because those labels have put artists up somehow. They've figured out the sort of modern age, and the big labels are still playing this weird game. Like the music industry is still how it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago, which it's just not.
I mean, those super big companies have been like very slowly picking up the moves, and I think that's why
they
Beyonce
buy small labels. So
exactly. I mean, but that Beyonce feminism thing is like it's not like Capitol Records gives a shit about that.
No. Yeah, exactly.
But they bought a label, and that label had this message or whatever.
It has market potential.
So they consumed the message and just put that on the face, and like it's a very cheap move considering how much money it costs to do it. But still, like there are labels like Sub Pop, which I guess is not. I don't really think of it as like a small label anymore.
No, Sub Pop is a major label.
It's pretty big,
in my opinion.
Pretty big.
Sub Pop is like Matador. People are like, it's an indie label. It's like,
no, it ain't. Like if you're an indie band, and like
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, because
Sub Pop signed the most popular grunge bands in the world. They started the grunge movement. I don't think that they're an indie label. No.
But it's the aesthetic. Like they still sell like, come on, guys. We know it's cool. Come on, we're fucking Sub Pop.
Yes, yeah.
And then they put on this bullshit of there's a guy right now, he's got like a cowboy hat and this stupid like Orville Peck I think.
What's his name?
Orville Peck.
Orville Peck.
What is he? Garbage. I can't stand it. Okay. I have another
he plays
question.
in the garbage genre. I've checked that out.
Yeah. That's Sub Pop's all about that right now.
Yeah, okay.
Except for Wolf Parade. Wolf Parade's cool.
I like Wolf Parade actually a lot.
They're pretty dope. Yeah, all right.
2 albums of theirs I have, for sure.
Dope. All right, yeah cool. Yeah. No, but okay, so this is a completely tangential question.
Is Wolf Parade the one with the male singer?
Yes.
What do they have? I hope that some people say what I don't do in
they
dreams.
Got that one, blue for you.
Yeah.
Baby blue.
Yeah,
like they got like that whole album, whatever that one was, like a bunch of little like kind of rectangles.
I like them. I always confuse Wolf Parade with Wolf Alice. I don't know if you know them.
I don't, but they're a little older, right?
Yeah. They're just I don't know. They're both sort of modern. One might be Canadian. I'm getting my facts all wrong.
No, I don't.
Jamie,
I actually don't know anything about them. Jamie,
look that shit up.
Joshy.
Neither of whom are here.
So my question.
Yes.
All right. the 21st
I'm the interviewer.
The 21st century is very. It hasn't forgotten cowboys. It just has a totally different imagination of it. So why do you think it is that the cowboys of the 21st century are all very not masculine? They're always like I got a cowboy hat, I got this, and now I'm also like all of the weird, like, why are cowboys weird in the 21st century?
I mean, probably because what's selling right now. Okay, so for instance, I heard somebody the other day be like, look, Nike doesn't give a shit about Colin Kaepernick, right?
Right.
And I mean that. I don't mean that Colin Kaepernick's a bad guy. It's not a judgment on him at all. It's a judgment on Nike. Nike does not give a shit about him. What they give a shit about, though, is that a bunch of people seem to be responding positively to what he's doing, right?
Right.
So I think a bunch of people are somehow responding positively to the anti-masculine message. And so to take the idea, which is so fundamentally and quintessentially American, of a cowboy or Western or whatever. I'm sure I'll get all kinds of shit for that. If anybody ever watched this, then I would get all kinds of shit for that. The archetype of a cowboy is quintessentially American. So to take that and replace it with something that is nonsensical sort of is poking fun at the archetype in the first place, which, extending the metaphor, is poking fun at America in general.
Right.
And I think that's where that's probably coming from. I think the reason that you have a spike in chicks doing rock and roll, which I never thought was bad. I think there's a whole slew of female-fronted bands and entirely female bands that are great.
Heart and Warpaint. So good. They're fucking good.
I like Warpaint a lot.
Warpaint's badass, yeah.
Heart is awesome.
Yes.
And many more. And I don't really even care to go through them, because then it's... Right, but whatever. It's like the point was never men versus women. It was badass versus not badass. Can you impress me on a stage? And if you're just a band who's like super mediocre, not to name certain East Side LA bands.
Haim's, I mean...
Yeah, Haim is fucking lame.
I'll get in trouble for that one because they're really big.
Well, here, I'll name one that's like Haim. Fantagram. Who I think is actually pretty good. And I know you might not like him, but...
They're okay, they're right.
Exactly. You don't immediately... Because they're making something that, it's kind of playing into the marketing, but... They're writing good songs, They're doing it with an attitude that's somehow outside of the whole politics. Like the fact that politics and stuff like that infects the music that we make, and so obviously in Los Angeles in such a ridiculous way. It's just kind of like, man, you're taking the fun out of the thing that I grew up thinking was the most fun thing in the world, which was, man, when I play this stuff, I don't have to worry about anything. I've played with literally, I think at this point, every race, every gender, seeing as how there's only two. Not really, there's way more. There's so many, whatever. Though I've played with a bunch of different people, I never thought that until somebody sort of brought it up. It was sprung on me as a surprise. So the Absurds thing is kind of a reaction because we never really thought about it. And Los Angeles was sort of ahead of the rest of the culture in that sense. They defined it for the rest of us. This stuff about, these shows that happen, the whole girls play rock and roll, it's like, that was cool when it wasn't the norm because it was rebellious, right? It was the antithesis of the normal. But now it's the normal in terms of the coolness of the rock and roll scene. I don't know were you at Echo Park Rising at all this year?
Yes. Like the biggest acts were like female acts, and I don't think that was a bad thing, but I think
it's not a bad thing. It's just, why in God's name would that ever be what's normal? No. And I mean, normal might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
I think part of the way to like actually gauge why this one was not as good, it doesn't have so much to do with the fact that they were putting so many female acts as
Absolutely
like
not.
it's because if you look at the female fronted acts of like the previous years, they were way better and they were way more genuine, whereas now it's like there's a bunch of newer, more up and coming bands of like essentially Instagram bands. I don't know if you already mentioned that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man, who was it? I think
it was Javier.
I think it was Javier. Javier mentioned, because I said they were. I probably said lesbian bands or something.
Yeah, which is like, I know that's the term that might maybe like get you in some trouble. This
Yeah,
one's
probably.
empty.
It's a triggering term.
Oh, I picked up the wrong one. Oh, that's so sad.
But
Thanks.
I think he said Instagram bands, which is just it's. I think what he might mean is that it's less about the music and more about the image.
Yes, which is exactly why these bands, and they're look. I mean, a lot of them are barely bands. When I've seen like one of the bands I told you, I was trying to befriend them. I was trying to follow them. Like, I didn't think they were that good. I saw them on a night. I was with Josh Loney at like the hi-hat, and they played the hi-hat. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They must have something. But like they could.
I know what band it is now.
Don't you?
Yes.
Well, 3-piece.
Yeah,
so they could sort of play.
Right.
And like there were imbalances. Honestly, Josh was right. Their drummer was super badass and like excellent demonstration of musicianship, whatever. But the other ones were just essentially doing nothing.
Right.
And the overall effect of the music was nothing. But did the people care? I mean, honestly, I feel like inside their little coco, somewhere in the back of their little peanuts, were like, this isn't really my favorite thing to listen to. But that got washed away by like, wow, these girls look so cool. They're so vibes right now.
Yep. But there's a reason that it's not taking the nation or world by sensation the way that people want it to. And the reason is because it's not that good.
Yeah. Because we live in a bubble that will validate them to an extent.
Yes.
But then they won't see any more than that.
No, it'll validate them to a ridiculous extent, because everybody who moves here, who's not from here, wants to be sort of the kings of LA, which I think is a stupid marketing move. I think if you're a band who wants to be, at least in this day and age, maybe it was different in the past, but now if you're a band who wants to be on top, go on the fucking road. Do important things in LA for sure, but get the fuck out of here. Do something that, everybody else wants to do, but they never do because they're chained to their, LA roots. Mm-hmm. All of this stuff, man, seeing it, it's just like, that's the thing, is like, I'm hyperbolic, I'm an asshole, right? But really, when it comes down to categorization systems of just like what's good and what's not, it's like, I'm not even trying to be that much of a curmudgeon or anything, but a lot of this stuff that crops up here, bands have seen a window for like, if we get a couple chicks together and, they don't know how to play guitar. They just bang on the guitar and sing shittily. Then, LA is going to be wicked cool and be good to us. And for a lot of... Dude, I went to Echo Park Rising. I went to the Echo a few of those days this year. I have never seen anything that bad at the Echo. I mean, these things happen at the Echo. I understand that because it's all scene, it's all vibe, it's all ooh. I've never seen anything as bad as a few of the bands that I've seen here.
Impressive.
And like, I get it. Like, I get the whole image,
like why it's happening.
I get the market. I get the social. Where the future is female. Which, by the way, like, the future is female. What the hell does that even mean? You realize you need men to make the future, right? Because seeing as how we're sexually,
or at least one half of the reproductive creation.
We're actually
thing.
Slightly under one half in terms of the population, but we are one half of the recreation process, right?
Yeah, because that's like a 1 × 1 = 1 type thing. I don't know if that's honestly okay. Maybe I don't have the right algorithm or the right math for it, but like I'm pretty sure like men are not dismissible in that thing.
Yes.
But neither are females.
Yes.
So like I would not like I know that by defending the male existence in this it should not have any effect on the female aspect either. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the weird thing is like it's clearly to me it's sort of LA is one of these leaders of the culture war or whatever, so they go along with it, and then it's like, look, at the end of the day, what I want, and I think what most people want, is to fucking have a good time.
Yeah.
And I think that art speaks for itself. And there's the have a good time and the art crowd, and that used to be the argument, right? That was my understanding of the argument. There's these snobs over here who are just like, I'm trying to write the best possible song, and then there's these fucking idiots over here who are just like, I'm trying to have a good time, I'm trying to give you the best time. And it's like, when those meet, boy, do you get something great. But then you add in this other thing of just like, well, if you're white, you suck, and if you're a man, you suck. It's like, all right, LA, I think you're letting the rest of us down on that one.
Okay, I think there's something in my mind that I've always kind of reflected on, as far as like, why does any crappy act in Los Angeles get support? And I think there's something, it's not new, it's old, it's part of band culture. Now imagine this statement of like, hey, come support my band.
Yeah.
Come support culture right now. We have a weird thing of like let's say certain acts, you can make them bigger by narrating their story in a way that works in the support to make it seem like it's this huge movement. I think
simply that's called virtue signaling. It's like, I support this band who supported these politicians who hate, Trump and the conservatives.
But it's not necessarily even necessary. It's not tied to it has been tied to politics and like certain movements, ideological movements of the time.
I think ideology is better than politics.
Yes. But they're right now, like, the acts that get that type of support, it's only because of who they know and the families that they know and the cliques that they're associated with. But there is support because, like, let's say it's all has to do with our family.
Yeah.
You invite all of your family to a show.
Right.
I invite all of my family and friends to a show, and we kind of did that on that Sunday. I was amazed. We had a lot of turnout, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I were to try and do this all of the time, I mean, my family and my friends, they all have lives and stuff. But when you tie that together, if you make your family bigger by expanding the family to, like, not only is my immediate family and real friends part of this, but I'm part of this movement.
Right.
These are now my family and friends, and you are all obligated to kind of support me.
See, and then what you don't realize when you live here is that there's a lot of other people who just don't fucking agree with you. When you do it on ideological boundaries, you make a mistake. Have you guys toured outside LA or no? Have you?
No, every year we always talk about it, and this year we weren't ready.
I am so excited to see what happens when you guys do. You or your solo thing, but I think especially Triangle Fire is going to kill everywhere because you guys have nothing to do with any of the cultural, ideological, political bullshit. You just play good music, genuinely great music, and it's just hey, we're kind of self-hating. Hopefully you like it. It's like, there's this whole, it works though. The shtick works. And what I found with us is like, we don't go out there, saying all this like, fuck you if you believe in this dumb, nothing. We don't say anything about it. People outside of LA tend to like us a lot more than people in LA. Because there's this whole pocket in LA where, everybody feels sort of the need to be a part of this weird, this is supposed to be a fucking diverse place, man. And it is super diverse, like racially and culturally, but like in terms of thought, like, damn, man, I know certain things that I say are gonna, and then you step outside of LA, even 1.5, 2 hours, north, south, east, doesn't matter which direction. Everybody's just like, what's up, man? Why you guys Taking everything so weird. We're not that serious out here.
Oh man, I mean that's just you can feel that, man. I mean, you can feel that from anywhere in LA you look at. I mean, like I still don't feel like high school was a long time ago for me, and yet
Right.
I look at the high school kids that are around now,
Yeah.
and how, because I used to teach music at a high school, and I look at those kids, and a lot of them, the ones that stand out to me were they were my students. They were the ones I got to know and whatever. But like if you look at the styles and the trends of what kids are listening to there, and this was a high school in Huntington Park. I didn't live in Huntington Park. I lived in East LA. Went to high school in East LA, but you see these kids in East LA and these kids in Huntington Park, and they're all into the same shit. They're all saying the same stuff, and because now I think this is a different perspective, in the sense of I'm growing up amongst a lot of, I mean, no matter what, if I'm in Huntington Park or if I'm East LA, these are Hispanic groups, largely Latino groups that are growing up. And like before, it was, I think it had a lot to do with, if you listen to narratives of families, it's like, you know, the struggle of the family, like immigration, a number of these things, and those still arise. And I think a lot of those people, their stories get banned. Those stories get hijacked and harnessed for whatever this movement is right now, and whatever this thing is tinged with a lot of, they call it anti-colonialism,
Right.
but
I've heard
it
of
might
it.
also sound like something called racism,
Yeah.
which is like,
Yeah.
because you show up to these high schools, and you hear Hispanic kids saying nigga,
Right.
but then
I've always wondered about that. It's very strange.
and you hear the
I don't know
same-
where I fit in, because I tried saying that once, and then people were like, "Not you," and I was like, "Well, not them either. That's a black guy thing."
But you know what? I mean, they get that too. I might. This might be the episode where I get blacklisted.
you might, yeah.
I might. But like on the other hand, these are Hispanic kids saying the N-word, but they're also saying so much stuff again. Like, my God, I just can't stand white people. It's
Yes.
like, all right, look, it has, I mean, I think I understand the stereotype of the white person that a lot of these kids don't like. I think I understand that.
we deserve to be made fun of. We're funny people.
But the thing is, like, that's a stereotype of a person. The same way that there's the lazy Mexican or the like loud black person. Like I know that there's like numerous stereotypes.
both of which are funny.
It's all for, you know, in the world of comedy, like everything's fucking funny. But
Unless you're Dave Chappelle.
I think I'm not enough on whatever this joke is that you just tossed on, because I fucking love Dave Chappelle.
Did you see his new special?
I heard about it. I heard the last few minutes about it.
Go
pretty-
watch
pretty
it.
good.
We'll talk about it sometime. It's honestly not his funniest special, but it's pretty brilliant.
There was something about
It's
his
possibly
dad
genius.
that came up that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or about poor, and like he's like, "Son, you're not poor, you're broke," or
You're
something
broke.
like that.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
funny.
That's absolutely it. I'm gonna do something weird. I'm gonna go take a pee.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to just entertain for like a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. There we go.
Cool. I'm gonna pour wines, if that's cool. I'll use this
I was
as a,
hoping that was gonna happen.
yes. I'll do that. You
right.
take the pee.
Do that. Entertain.
Yes.
Rant, man.
Yeah.
About,
I got a lot to say about anything, so
Choose a topic. Go for it.
so you may not know a lot about me, listeners of the world. I mean, because when I'm out in the rock scenes and stuff, like I try to be very personal and personable. And honestly, I should probably disclaim a lot of some of the stuff that I'm saying here, in the sense of like, look, I've got opinions. I've been a person that's always been willing to express them, but I have a lot of respect for people that are similarly going through whatever they have to go through to make good things happen. because if you're looking at music or art, like, you're not doing it because it suits an ideological thing. You're doing it because if it's any ideological thing, it's that the thing is good. You're trying to make a good thing. And I see I've met so many people around that are doing that. And that is, on one hand, that's very humbling, because I feel like I used to feel like I was growing up in this isolated world where I didn't know who I could talk to about making music or doing art or whatever. But now all of a sudden I'm surrounded with musicians who, like, on from topic to topic, piece to piece, we may disagree, but generally we're all in, well, at least the ones that are closest to me and the most relevant, in my opinion, have a mindset of looking into the future, looking at the trends of now, realizing that the fads that are in right now are going to be dead by the end of the 20s. And I think that's something I definitely want to talk about. I want to talk about our music community a bit.
Let's catch it, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
We have not cheers yet. That is a hell of a glass of wine, my friend.
It's all of our wine.
That is half a bottle of wine. Okay, cool. Well, let's go for it. Okay, our music community, how do you want to frame it? Because I'm fond of framing it in the sense of the West Side Revival versus the East Side versus the underdog East Side, because I think before West Side Revival happened, the Absurd was there doing sort of an underground or underdog East Side kind of thing, just
Yes.
like, where do we go? What do we do? But we like playing with bands that are good. That's bands that are interesting. People who are down, just to fucking throw pretense away and just be like, yeah, this is cool,
What's crazy is that wasn't enough to actually form a scene. There were a lot of us, a lot of bands, and these are still the bands that
Oh, that's a good point. I haven't heard that point made yet.
right? Because it wasn't there were a lot of us.
Yeah.
And we would show up to each other's shows, like Santa Barbara,
Or the
who's
East
now
Side
Young
Rejects.
Because in the end, none of us got absorbed into that. Not even us.
Right.
I mean, we got accepted by people who I think are probably more valuable than those.
Yeah.
But like the East Side, like we haven't gotten annexed into that. None of us.
Right.
We had I mean, I consider like Ned and the Dirt, Greg and Good Company, Absurd, Young Winona, formerly Santa Barbara. Oh, also Sorry Party, formerly Ned and the Dirt. Ourselves and like there
Little Galaxy.
Little Galaxies.
They have a chick as a singer. Same with Santa Barbara.
I know that there was there's only an amount that I saw, because I think Triangle Fire always stayed fairly on the outskirts, even when it came to West Side Revival.
Mm-hmm.
But like the thing about the Absurd is the Absurd was right in the heat of a lot of whatever was happening.
Right.
So you definitely would know, I think, more than I do in that respect. But still, I know like what you guys started was a lot of it took place in the East Side.
Yeah.
And when West Side Revival became a thing, it sort of just migrated, and a lot of those names that we were used to seeing just became staples in that, while a flood of these other bands that have been around on the West Side emerged into my perspective.
Yes.
And now we all just know each other's like, well, now there's music. Like now there's just, I don't know how else to.
Well, here's a weird thing, man, is as I've said, I guess, the Absurd, we showed up and didn't know anybody. And in fact, right before we knew you guys, we just weren't that good. Probably when we met you guys, we weren't.
I remember that.
Exactly. Whatever. For whatever reason, we carried a vibe or whatever, and, just kept, we were a bull in a china shop. Just whatever this is, we're just going to do whatever we can. So we kept doing that, and then once we got decent, our whole thing was, well, how do we develop a following for ourselves? Well, we can't, because, we have no friends in this city. All right, so what if we start stealing the fans of other people. So, okay. But then the idea was always to build it on top of itself. So once we had some people, then we sort of have some leverage in talking to other people where it's like, okay, look, we will play a show to bring our people out, whoever the hell they are, bring your people out, let's have them meet. And the chief thing that we made sure was like, you guys are cool, we're cool. Like, the band is good too, right? But more than that, we're all cool, you know? Like, everybody's down with just, you know, the sort of ridiculous, rebellious, you know, contrarian kind of bullshit. So then some shit kind of started happening. We had a few venues offer us some things. We were able to book kind of our own nights because we figured, like, we wanted to get on other people's nights, especially on the east side. Like, you know, bands like Ramon Hammer and stuff. Like, we met them and we thought that was all good. And no one ever wanted to do that. And we...
To, like, reciprocate.
Yeah. Well, and the things we were doing weren't for the purpose of reciprocation, but we kind of figured, like, if we can put together something that's cool, perhaps you'll reciprocate.
That would just make this whole thing bigger and better.
That's the
for
point.
Everybody.
That's the point.
Right.
And the point is, like, understanding the psychology of people who like to see music. Like, if you have a good band, once we started to get actually good, it's like, okay, so we can help bring people out just because we're good. And, like, just because, you know, whoever's into this brand of thing that we're doing will come. And at that point, we'd gotten, you know, Devin from Ramon Hammer to sing with us a few times. And it's not in the interest of that, but she was really fun to play with. And, you know, a couple of those other bands. And, like, then all of a sudden, none of them would respond. We got kind of ghosted.
I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, we just got really ghosted. It was weird because that was right before we started to get, you know, a residency at, like, the Satellite and some bigger shows. Yeah. And then we, you know, asked a few of those bands to play and just didn't get a response. Or we got a response weeks later just being like, sorry, we're out of town. Dude, just be real with us. That's the thing I fucking hate about this town and this scene is, like, why can't you just be like, hey, we think you guys are assholes? Like... And I've done things like that before to my detriment, you know? And that's the issue. So I think West Side Revival came about because, you know, the tail end of us doing our thing on the east side, and we still love the east side. I do still say you need to do something on the east side. You need to make sure people know who you are because that's where it is right now. That's where it's at. Yeah. Okay, but if we're not going to be... you know, sort of welcomed into the scene, and we can't fight our way into the scene, well, then what the hell do we do? Okay, West Side Revival. And that's sort of the genesis of that. And the problem with West Side Revival, in my opinion, is your goal should be to merge in some way with that East Side shit, because those people are getting, like, national press. Even though they're never breaking out of L.A., really, they're getting noticed, you know? Yeah. West Side... who's noticing you outside of West Siders? It's an issue.
I mean, what I've noticed about that entire scene is, sweet as they are, I mean, it's very, very much local focused, local based, and they, I mean, yes, for a number of them, that's kind of enough. Yeah. And what's weird is, like, there's, like, a kind of a disconnect of, like, a certain middle process because they're here, and this is, like, big success that actually has an impact in a big way. Yeah. But there's a middle thing that's kind of missing, and it seems that a lot of the bands and I guess the heads of West Side Revival are not exactly scrabbling to figure out what that is. Yeah. But there's a disconnect between what leads to that part because the foundation is kind of here now. Right. The foundation of a scene and a lot of support, but whatever this phenomenon is with that West Side Revival, so I drink to that. Yeah. Okay. I mean, at the heart of it, I mean, there's a general lack of overall direction. Because I think if that direction was clear, it would make sense that East Side needed to be conquered.
Right.
That those West Side bands need to play in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
Because San Fernando...
LA is big.
LA is very big.
LA's really big. And like the thing about it is like, no, though, you don't realize
big.
like...
It's pretty big. Yeah.
So originally when we started, doing our shit on like the East Side is just frankly where we wound up because like we identified that that's where people are. Mm-hmm. But also like we got an offer for a gig at Rafa's. Rest in peace, buddy. Who somehow we got in there. And then we realized, okay, there's this we met some people from the Valley because Rafa would often have people from the Valley. Actually, we met Civics who were, what was their name?
Well, they were Civics, now they're Killjoy from like Coachella.
They were Civics and now they're Killjoy. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and I haven't,
them.
oh my God, I haven't seen them in forever.
They haven't been down here. And
That sucks.
yeah, we've asked them, I think, a few times. Either way, I noticed how far away they were. And I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of distance in between. And then when you fly in from a place like Vegas or something, they'll take you up and then you start heading south once you get into California. And you're just like...
And you see how much California there is.
Little houses on the hillside. Like there's so many people. And then you get to the mountains and you notice... Okay, there's the valley. Like you go, you notice there's a split. Like the valley bands actually sound different from the not valley bands.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Interestingly.
Totally.
I don't have any explanation for that. Do you? I mean,
I don't. I only have observations of what those bands are like.
they all sound like the Strokes.
They all sound like the Strokes, Interpol, Killers, Arctic. I love the Arctic Monkeys and I love the Smiths.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I know that those bands are like actually big with a lot of like Latinos and Hispanics and like a lot of people out here listen to that. But weirdly that the outpouring of the bands from East LA are like ska and reggae, but we all listen to the Smiths. Whereas in the Valley it's like we listen to the Smiths is part of the Bible. Killers, Interpol, Strokes. Oh, really? If you wanted to boil it down, Arctic Monkeys and Strokes. Like,
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
Which I don't understand, but either way, that's why we met you at Witch's Brew, because we sought out playing on the other side of the mountains, and there was sort of a different vibe. And you know what I think the reality is? There's no real way to take LA by storm because LA is such an amazing amalgam of so many different people that, like, at best, you're going to get some people from a few different pockets, but you're never going to get everybody from all the pockets until you go on the road. George Pahone, who plays guitar for the Black Eyed Peas, told me...
He's the guy, yeah, George.
That's the best fucking guy. He told me the Black Eyed Peas, the last place to take in the Black Eyed Peas was L.A., and that's where they're from. They toured internationally. And the last place to be really excited about them was L.A., which, of course... Because until you proved, because I've noticed that people in LA don't go out to places until their friend goes out to places, like until their friend texts them and is like, no, seriously, it's worth coming.
Yeah, no,
Weird.
Several, what definitely accents that point to me is the fact that you guys, ourselves, and a number of other bands that like actually understand. We've been out here long enough to know that where we are in LA, we can only do so much more to actually generate interest from LA. A lot of what we're gonna have to do has to do with getting outside of LA.
Yeah, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
And getting support from people that can constantly export out of LA.
Which, by the way, okay, getting support from those people might be difficult, but getting support from people who are just outside of LA, not really that hard.
No.
Because where we are right now is so saturated with good shit, even these bands that I make fun of from the East Side, Ramonda Hammer, Spare Parts, The Gooms, who are mediocre at best.
Oh, you didn't even mention those other ones. I don't really know them that well. But
Which other one? Which one did I mention?
I only heard Ramonda Hammer, and even then, I don't even know.
They're
them.
the biggest of those bands, and I think they're the worst of those bands. Interestingly, the Gooms used to be our buddies, and now they're not. And I think that's because we're burly white dudes or something. I don't know.
It's because you're tall, Ben. You should have lost your kneecaps.
We got those fuckers
in
into the Satellite the first time. And outside the
Gooms.
Satellite.
I think I remember there was a Gooms.
Outside the Satellite, Shane was like, yo, man, thanks for getting us. Shane, the drummer, was like, thanks for getting... Shane, is Shane the drummer? Whatever. The drummer was like, thanks for getting us into the Satellite. We'll pay you back. And then after that, pretty much they're like, fuck these guys. They're toxic. Either way, it's not hard. And I think you need to develop some kind of following outside of LA. And I think, again, that's not a hard thing to do because, again, we're saturated here, and outside of LA, you go through there and people are like, who's this good band playing? Like, here it's like, who's this good band? How many people did they bring? 20? Yeah, I'm not really interested in this,
Because the way I see it, okay, so me and my brother grew up playing World of Warcraft.
My brother and I.
Myself and my brother. I will say it wrong every time.
Me and my brother sounds more natural to me.
No, it's just because I grew up in Southern California, which is technically the South, so I got this Southern drawl. So me and my brother. Okay, so imagine World of Warcraft.
I've played it. I don't have to imagine it.
All right, there you go. They relaunched Classic, and we've been on it for the past few weeks, which is why I haven't seen the sun.
A bunch of my friends have been on it too, and I'm like...
I don't advise doing that, honestly.
It's a very addictive game.
But imagine this. So it's cut off... Well, okay, for the person... This world of Warcraft is divided up into a bunch of pieces. Now imagine... Like this level, this range, this is like Elwyn Forest. Elwyn Forest is like a starting zone. This is where you go and you're like starting off and everything's super easy. Like, whoa, you killed a wolf. Here's some XP. Yay. All right. But if you go south, you're in Duskwood and everything's like twice or 3 times your level. And it's like, fuck you. You're here. Like, so imagine you're born into Los Angeles. Now, and I say, people get mad at me for saying that because they're like, sorry, if you're Latino, you're supposed to say Los Angeles. And I'm like...
The G is soft?
Yeah, it was Angel. Like, so my grandfather's name was Angel Ortega.
Well, welcome to the United States. We don't say it like that here.
Curse you, Murican. You take my land.
Welcome to Little Mexico. It's called Los Angeles.
I don't know, but now I'm educating you.
Oh.
Soft G.
Oh, okay.
Angel.
I mean, I didn't know that. Yeah.
But then I heard Ben Folds. Ben Folds say, "Hey, Los Angeles," and I was like, "Los Angeles, what the fuck is that?"
That dude's whiter than I am. I mean,
he's as white as it gets.
Yeah.
I love Ben Folds.
I have no problem with him.
I mean, when I was talking to you and Josh about bands, I was like,
I was telling Ben about
I was telling Ben about how I like Ben, and y'all were like, boring. That's boring music. It's like, come on,
Boo.
Ben Folds is good. Ben Folds is so good.
He is. I don't know if he's so good, but he's good.
He's just one of those.
He's a little milk toast. Milk toast spelled with the MILQUE toast.
There's definitely a point where his music, especially like as he got older, like I don't think all of it's as relevant, but like the earlier stuff is good stuff. But where were we?
Well, we were about to wrap it up. Abalos.
Oh, we're wrapping it up?
We got to wrap it up.
Okay.
It's so long. Wait,
is it
that long?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
All right. Let's.
Don't anticipate my question before I ask you.
No.
Unless you got something else to say.
No. I just want to wrap up this thought then.
Oh, okay.
Because, so if the world that we live in is like the World of Warcraft, there's a bunch of different levels.
Nerd!
That we're... I'm just trying to make a point. So the point is, like, all right, Los Angeles is the pinnacle of like is considered, even if it isn't or is or whatever, is considered the pinnacle of like entertainment for movies, film, music, whatever
Which
your shit is.
It is.
Which it is. It still is to a degree. But that makes it exceptionally hard to get into, even if you're from here.
Yes.
Especially if you're from here.
Yeah.
Because essentially, all of LA and all of LA entertainment is essentially leering at you while you're doing your thing. Like, I'm in a band. It's like, oh yeah, you're in a band? Yeah? How many people can you bring to the show, fucker? You know, like, oh, you have an album and it's really good, it's well produced? Oh yeah, sure. How many units did you sell? How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Yeah.
Fucker. And like, it's, so it
I
does
always
that.
think when I showed up, I should have gotten a gender reassignment surgery before I got here.
Ouch.
Right, though? I mean,
No,
you know,
I mean,
that would've
okay,
been
'cause I think
that would have been a positive.
I had a whole conversation in my mind earlier thinking about this podcast about like how much easier it would be
if I was transgender.
well, if you're transgender, if you're just generally female, because like
Yeah.
female is like I know I mean, it's a whole other thing. I honestly don't
you
even
just got
want to get
sexist. You just said it would have been easier if I was female, which means you think females are easier to get along with than males, which means you think females are not equal to males, which means sexist.
All right. I you know what? Growing up, I always had the opposite thing of like, wow, like women are so great and like men suck.
Yeah.
Guys suck because all of the guys I knew were like kind of idiots, and except for the nerds. The nerds were smart. Everyone else was idiots. So it's like, all right, we're nerds. Ha, we're at least the smart guys. Sure, whatever. And then later realized that girls, even though we had an appreciation for what they intrinsically brought as people, decided, oh yeah, okay, but we're just gonna go like we're gonna go on a either we're going on a crusade against all men, which includes you fucking nerds, you incel fucking World of Warcraft playing nerds, or we're dating those jocks in front of you or whatever. I don't know what my point was.
Which is weird because like being anti-man entails being against all men from the meekest, most conciliatory man to like Hitler is on the other end of that spectrum. Like you realize there's a range, right? Like look, these fuckers, these men who are against women and who are chauvinists or whatever, it's like, or misogynists, I guess. Fuck you, dude. I love women. I really do. And like, I'm not right all the time. So I understand that like sometimes I should just be made fun of because I suck a lot of the times. It's all these people who just like get offended and don't realize that like they should humble themselves. And when other people don't necessarily recognize that they should be humble, like, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense. Not everybody has learned the lessons I've learned. Yeah. Anyway, Abalos. Abalos?
You were so close.
I got it right both times. I'm going to ask you a final question. Where are we at? Let me see here. Wow.
I've seen Joe Rogan's go up to like 2 hours.
Joe Rogan has gone at least 4 hours, but the thing is, he's famous and his guests are famous.
Yeah, we're not. We're just...
Neither of us are there. We are at, I think this might be the longest one so far, which I think is good because it covered some pretty interesting shit. Before I ask you your final question, you want to say anything else about your stupid music?
I hate promoting my music.
You don't have to promote it. You know, you can just say things about it.
But I shall.
When I wrote it, I was on opium, which might explain why the first 4 tracks don't have any goddamn drums.
No, that's not right. That's not right. No, they all have drums.
The second track does.
The first one doesn't. The second one, the third one, the rest do, except for like some near the back end. All right. Well, anyway.
Not enough drums.
All right. Look. So Roaring Quiet was the post like psychedelic album. It was also not mixed well, but that was Roberto del Raspado, The Roaring Quiet, Triangle Fire, Everything Works. That came in 2018. That was like the
then Roberto del Raspado.
Roberto del Raspado Making Moon.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, if we're following a pattern here, potentially there's probably going to be a Triangle Fire record before there's another Roberto record.
Good.
Unless I win the race. I'm gonna beat my own self. No, I don't know. Come on, I got music out. It's pretty decent. It doesn't have anything to do with anything except what it does. And
wow,
I know,
fascinating. All right, so last question is, of course,
shut me
blah
off
blah blah. You already know what's coming. 5 artists or bands that you can't live without. You're stranded on a desert island.
Whoa, I'm stranded. I'm out here. Yeah, whoa.
And you're allowed to take 5 artists or bands. Fuck. They're not allowed to be Supertramp.
Shit.
They're allowed to be whoever you want, Supertramp included. You can only take 5 artists, 5 bands, solo artists, whatever.
I understand.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I understand the terms and conditions. Let's see.
Right now, look, I mean, in 2 years, your taste will change. Maybe you change your answer. But as it stands right now.
See, a lot of my taste hasn't changed. Like one of my first bands.
No, then that's good.
My first band is going to be America. Does that sound like I'm one of those vendidos? Like, where the Hispanic is like, wow, you're siding with the white man? Because your favorite band is a band called America.
What is the word you use? Doritos?
Vendido. Vendido. That's like a sellout.
Right.
You're selling out your culture. Right. Whatever. It's like, dude, a band called America? What?
Cool Ranch Doritos?
America. The band. All right. America, the band. Fucking the album Holiday. The fucking album Homecoming. So much, oh my God, so much America, soft rock, oh my God, every day. They're the band that got me into like actually wanting to do the music thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Sister Golden Hair was like the song, and then
great song.
Yeah.
So you got 1 of 5.
1 of 5.
America.
I always get shit for this, especially from Josh Loney.
Oh.
I get Billy Joel. I choose Billy Joel. Consummate artist, consummate songwriter. Most of his stuff works for me.
Pretty sweet.
You don't seem satisfied by that one.
What are his biggest songs?
I don't care about what his biggest songs are.
What are they, though?
I mean, he's got an album called The Stranger that's really good.
What are his hits?
Well, his hit, I mean, the bigger hit is like Uptown Girl.
Uptown Girl. World. I don't really care what the lyrics are. I'm down with that song.
Yeah. I mean, okay, he's got one of the ones that
I always confuse Billy Joel and Billy Idol.
Very different.
Yes, very different. I know.
To me, in my mind, Billy Idol is like the few hits, and then like, where did he go?
Okay, yeah.
Because Billy Joel, okay, like the album The Stranger is excellent. Glass Houses, the album is excellent. I love 52nd Street. Or no, I'm starting to Street Life Serenade. I'm mixing some up. No, I think he's got both of them are albums. But Scenes of an Italian Restaurant is a great song. The Stranger is a great song.
That is a very good song, yeah.
You know the one, yeah. Bottle of red, bottle of white, whatever kind of mood you're in.
Hey, it's
tonight.
almost like if you just looked at it now, you poured just a regular glass of wine.
It's like, yeah, that,
except for it's still heavy.
None of that happened. All right.
Okay, so we got America and Billy Joel.
And Billy Joel.
Okay.
The guy that he is, and not the guy that he isn't. Billy Joel. I start thinking this is funny, but it's.
I assume Supertramp is next.
No. Honestly, I love Supertramp, but they only had that one album that I liked. And
the one with "Take a Look at My Girlfriend."
This is not the best song on the. I like.
I know, but it's just the recognizable one.
Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice. Oh, you. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I can't get those falsettos anymore because I scream a lot.
I'm getting there. I actually need to stop doing that.
It just cut my...
no more yelling for me.
Yeah.
No more yelling for you.
No, it has very detrimental effects.
You got to stop.
Yeah.
You got to lower the register. By
I'm
like
writing...
whole step.
Everything new that I'm writing is low.
You better. I've been doing that, but like I'm going way too low. Like I need
Pleased
to
to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
All right. So
we've got
Supertramp
America
and Billy Joel.
No, Supertramp. America
and Billy Joel.
and Billy Joel.
Okay.
God damn it! I love so much music.
Yes.
Let's see who else. I think amongst I don't listen to a lot of modern bands, but I'm probably gonna pick two of them.
Muse.
For my next two. I'm not. I like Muse, but I'm not like not super huge on Muse. You get two more guesses though. 3 guesses.
Kings of Leon.
No, that's Sal. Hi Sal, I love you.
Imagine Dragons.
So close.
Oh man.
You almost had it with that last one.
I thought I had it.
You know their one song tonight. We are young. Imagine Dragons. No.
Fuck both of those bands.
All right.
I love when people are like, yeah, but they're making money and you're not. It's like porn stars are making money and I'm not. Only difference is they have to show their dick on camera.
So no, but we're back to this men and women thing because the
Yes.
women make more money
Yes.
in porn.
I mean, especially if they do anal. Although gay porn stars make a lot more money than anybody.
Really? Mm-hmm. Where did this? I have no bearing on this information.
I imagine it's probably because a lot of straight dudes are just like, yeah, I'm gonna look at that.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, right.
It's like you look at okay. So if you look at Spotify for artists,
Right.
it tells you the demographic
Right.
of who's looking. And if you're on like Pornhub, it's like all right, it's like ain't men fisting
63% straight men. What the fuck?
What?
Okay.
That's funny. What the fuck is that?
Fucking America.
America,
Supertramp.
not Supertramp.
Oh, Billy
ain't
Joel.
freaking
Okay, America and Billy Joel. 2 out of 5.
I'm actually gonna go The National. Why?
All right.
Tell me why.
I can respect that.
And this is probably the only one that might change in the few years because like they have a grip of albums in the middle of their career because now what we're seeing is the newest side of that. But in the middle of their career, they had some stuff that just really resonates with me. The album Alligator, which is super fucking weird, just sounds like a bunch of weird dudes in tuxes having too much wine at some dimly lit bar and singing about weird shit. And it's kind of, I don't know.
And
it's
he's
weird.
doing this the whole time. This is how I sing. And I got an orchestra hired somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. The band.
Is that Buzz Blood, Ohio, or whatever?
Oh, I mean, that's the Josh song. It's like, yeah, they only have 2 good songs. But no, they have
That's a pretty good song.
Blood Buzz Ohio is okay. I actually I don't really like that one.
Really?
I like the entire album. Trouble Will Find Me with like Sea of Love, Don't Swallow the Cap, I Should Live in Salt,
okay.
Demons. Trouble Will Find Me.
I think that's how a lot of people got hooked on that album in particular.
At first I didn't like it. I was very much on the train of like, this is super boring. Give me Portugal the Man and Franz Ferdinand instead.
I like Portugal, man.
I used to love Portugal
Except
Man.
for their most recent 2 albums.
Yes. Well, that's the thing.
I'm a rebel just for kicks. Stop it. Hey, you know, I never thought it before, but I feel like shopping at Kohl's for an Oxford shirt.
I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I'm at Kohl's. Cost me $19.66 now.
I never thought about wearing Vans shoes, but now I'm very excited. All right.
I mean, I used to be really into them, but I really the only one of those 2 that stuck with me was like Franz Ferdinand. But
It's interesting.
I fucking love Franz Ferdinand. They're badass.
They're cool.
They're super badass.
I like them a lot.
I saw them in 2013 at the Wiltern, and it made me think just like, wow, if all else fails, I want to like play like a good turnout at the Wiltern Theater fuck all else.
That was
man.
that was right when Franz Ferdinand was trying to transition and do some dubstep electronic shit. Like,
This is right before.
yeah.
That-
Okay.
Dude, that year was also, I mean, in 2014 was the last year of Local Natives. And I know Javier brought them up.
Fine.
That was the last year where Local Natives was like, we're the shit. And I was like, you guys are totally the shit. And they're like, now we are not. And I was like, God, Local Natives' third album broke my heart.
Yeah.
They betrayed me.
Their first 3 albums broke my heart.
Oh,
I think they only have 3, right?
they have 4.
Oh, haven't heard the newest one, but I'm guessing it might break my heart.
I really liked the first 2. I mean, Gorilla Manor, the first one was like, it's like, man.
Grizzly Bear is just a better version of Local Natives, no?
Well, the thing is, I think Grizzly Bear is a lot looser and artsy than Local Natives. And I think, honestly, I love Grizzly Bear as well.
Yeah.
But I think that Grizzly Bear was missing certain accessibilities that Local Natives had. To
All right,
people.
So let me get this
in the
straight.
mainstream sense.
So far, you have America, The National. Who was the other one?
Billy Joel. Shit, I don't know about the National anymore.
Don't be
You're
nervous.
not feeling good about that.
No. It's just my position to make fun of everybody.
Oh, yes.
My
of
top
course.
5 would be easy to make fun of.
Yeah.
All right.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam 4 times and then Smashing Pumpkins. I think that would be Josh's top 5. That's not mine.
I think part of it's like I'm drinking so much that I'm getting swirled around and I'm forgetting. Electric Light Orchestra.
Yellow.
Fucking love Electric Light Orchestra. Oh my God.
Okay.
Face the Music is like one of my favorite records ever.
Down with it.
It starts with like Fire on High. It's like the lamest, like fucking most epic, corny fucking thing. Awesome. Fuck yeah. Fire on High. Face the Music. Electric Light Orchestra.
ELO, America, The National, and
ELO.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, The National, America. Although I feel like The National weirdly doesn't fit. I only get one more. How not nice. How nice. Let's see. Think.
Beethoven.
No. All right. So I remember that Javier had said the Beatles, and I like the Beatles. What sucks is like, okay, it's the music you're listening to forever, but like to kind of rinse from a lot of that stuff, to rinse from a lot of music, I listen to George Harrison. And part of it is because in my mind, like with All Things Must Pass, I think he had like the purest, most... it feels like a lot of things and a lot of pretenses dissipated and All Things Must Pass happened. And then after that, he's like, oh shit, I guess I gotta be a professional again. Like you can feel all the other stresses and concerns falling into his music, and it never reached that point again. Lightning in a Bottle with All Things Must Pass, George Harrison. Because that, like, I'll go to that way more often than I go to the Beatles these days.
All right. So you're stranded on a desert island.
Shit.
5 artists you can't live without.
That's right.
America,
Dope.
Billy Joel,
Sick.
The National,
Sick.
George Harrison / Lightning in a Bottle, whatever. What was the one I'm missing? Supertramp.
No. Wait, what do we do? America, Billy Joel, The National, which was maybe not the best choice.
No.
At this point, I'm actually already concerned. But whatever, I already did that. Electric Light Orchestra.
ELO. Okay, that's who I missed. Okay, so if you had to replace The National with someone. Quickfire, man. You're in the Supertramp.
Supertramp. No, I don't like. Come on, man. We all know, like we all know you like Supertramp.
This joke never gets old.
Supertramp. I guess Four Tops.
Who is that?
Sugar pie, honey bunch. You don't, you know I love you. I can't help. I'm all in the wrong range. I can't help myself. It's the Motown group. They've got, baby, I need your loving. Got to have all your loving, right? And then they also got they're like one of the biggest like Motown greatest hits groups. Four Tops.
Now I feel like an ignoramus.
Where have you been? Under a rock?
Nowhere, but
Four Tops is so good. Four Tops.
Judging by the time, I'm gonna just end the sweat. Final words before I obviously murder you after this is done. By the way, my plan is to push you off the balcony after lighting you on fire, but you won't notice.
All right. Shit. This is actually going on the internet.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You're gonna get in trouble for a lot of things you said.
Oh yes. Yes. All right. I mean,
I'm so sorry.
I care about
Women.
No, I'm thinking about women. I'm thinking about women, and the thing is like the women I want closer to me live out of state.
Hi, Mom.
And they're not in Los Angeles, or they're not around. And how dare you? Because the girls that are around here that are like fucking with me.
Suck you by.
How could you do this to me? Come back. Marty Robbins, honorable mention.
Baby, come
back. Come back to the valley.
And so,
come back to this
wasted
poor
potential.
Cowboys on.
What the fuck ever. We got it. We did it. All right, cheers.
I'm not an alcoholic. I just drink a lot.
Neither am I. Well, yeah, functionally I am, for sure. Yeah, there's pretty much no denying that. What's that?
Do you think they're gonna figure out that I'm totally insane?
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Just
Shit.
the entire time.
Fuck.
All right. Well. Wow. Yeah, long one.
How long was that?
Good shit. A little over 2.